How's stand-up going?
It's good, man.
Let's hear a little bit. Come on.
Might be the worst thing ever to ask.
Do some jokes, bro.
Why?
Do some jokes.
Things got tight between MMA fighter Donald Cerrone and Brendan Schaub. Bryan Callen was gracefully able to step in using an unexpected strategy to diffuse the tension and save the day. Right off the bat, take a look at how much space Donald is taking up. While he is leaned toward Bryan and Brendan, his right leg is directly within Bryan's space, and we see Bryan having to actually lift his leg up in order to make room for Donald. Aside from this, the main tension of the situation here actually lies between Brendan and Donald. Within the first few frames, we see Donald is staring directly at Brendan, about to ask him a question, and the immediate body language we see from Brendan is protective. Where Donald has folded his outward leg into the group for the intention of taking up more space, Brendan has folded his inward leg out of the group for the intention of covering his torso, subconsciously providing himself a physical barrier between him and Donald. So on paper, while it is the same action of folding your legs, it could have a completely different meaning depending on the context, as well as what we are folding our legs toward and away from. We also see Brendan's hand on his chin with his head tilted slightly down. Brendan has felt the subconscious need to create a full physical barrier against Donald, covering his torso with his leg all the way up to his neck with his hands. From this we can derive that Brendan and Donald have previous tension or Brendan feels like he is about to be challenged. Often when we feel like we are going to be attacked verbally, we subconsciously guard ourselves physically.
How's stand-up going?
It's good, man.
Let's hear a little bit. Come on.
Might be the worst thing ever to ask.
Do some jokes, bro.
Why?
Do some jokes.
Brendan says that might be the worst thing to ask someone, which is correct. You don't really tell a comedian to tell a joke. Bryan comes in and says, "Do some jokes, bro," essentially mocking Donald. By mocking him, Bryan is indirectly telling Donald that Donald is a part of an uninformed crowd that doesn't understand you are not supposed to ask a comedian that. Bryan takes Brendan's side, and Brendan puts down half of his guard once he realizes he has reinforcements to help him through the question.
Why?
Do some jokes. Do it now,
My
man.
dad used to
do something funny.
My dad was a banker. He'd be like, do some jokes. I was like, oh, okay. Do some banking. Chain the pens
off. You guys have it chambered.
Bryan helps ease the tension by calling Donald out indirectly. Instead of saying directly to Donald, "What you said is dumb," he tells a story about his dad who said the same thing. So by saying that what his dad said was dumb, by correlation, Bryan is able to indirectly tell Donald that what he just said was dumb as well, but without having to say it to his face.
chain the pens
Off. You guys have it chambered. Six-shooter, ready to go. You should be able
The
to...
stories, brother. No, you're like this.
Donald does not back off from Bryan's indirect message and keeps applying pressure. Bryan goes back to the internal drawing board as the pressure again gets focused back on Brendan.
No, you're like this is what sells it.
You should be able to just hammer him out.
It doesn't work like
Oh,
that.
you want a
That's
little
like saying
scrap?
throw some light kicks for
Yeah,
us.
kick who want me to kick right now?
You want me to kick right
Yeah,
now?
fuck.
Cheer for his bad internet
You know what I'm
skills.
saying? No.
What Brendan does here is recognize that he is back on his own. He provides two forms of reasoning against Donald's attack. This is how we sell tickets, and it doesn't work like that. This is Brendan providing reasoning for his actions, and they are inherently defensive. But when he sees that the pressure is still not letting up, he tries to go on the offensive and tells Donald to view the question from his point of view. However, Donald takes it in stride. Not only has he demolished Brendan's defense, but he has also demolished Brendan's offense. Bryan has been back at the drawing board for the past 15 seconds, letting Brendan fend for himself, but he is noticing that it is time to step in.
Okay, I got a joke.
All right.
Bryan steps in with, "I have a joke." The defense didn't work. The offense didn't work. The only way forward that Bryan sees is to give in to Donald's demands. However, we are going to see that the joke Bryan tells is a long and boring joke, inherently intended to dissatisfy the audience. Bryan folds his leg, providing him more protection than previously.
Okay, I got a joke.
All right.
This was the,
But you weren't. It wasn't directed towards you. But you could step in for.
I don't tell jokes with my stand-up, as you know, but this is a joke that
I don't know anyone that does, but go
All
ahead.
right, ready?
It wasn't directed toward you, but you can step in for him. Donald is acknowledging his victory. He wants everyone in the studio and audience to know that Brendan could not fend for himself. Not only is he telling everyone in the studio, but he is indirectly telling Brendan as well. Bryan says, "I don't tell jokes," as a preface to the joke he's about to tell in an attempt to set expectations. Brendan opportunistically takes that and uses it as ammo against Donald's declaration of victory. Brendan points his finger and says, "I don't know anyone who does." He is indirectly saying, yeah, I wasn't able to substantiate your requests, but I don't know any comedian who would be able to. And subconsciously, he is saying, you are not the winner. You simply asked an uninformed question that you shouldn't expect a good answer to from any comedian. It is not me who is wrong. It is you.
All right, let's see if you guys dare you guys not to laugh at this corny joke. Ready? Did you guys hear about the worst magician in the world? He's like, all right. He gets up and he basically says, all right, ladies and gentlemen.
When Bryan begins to tell the joke, Donald immediately takes out his phone and checks out of the situation. Donald wants to show that this is not a battle between him and Bryan, and he will not accept Bryan going to bat for Brendan. Instead of saying this outright, he removes himself from the situation entirely. He takes out his phone and stops paying attention. The whole reason that Bryan is telling the joke in the first place is to appease Donald's request. But Donald refuses to pay attention because he doesn't want to allow Brendan to take the easy way out through this conflict by relying on Bryan. Donald wants to send the clear message that Bryan's injection into this conflict was not what he was looking for, nor will he even attempt to feign satisfaction at it.
I'm now going to have the strongest man in the audience come up here with this baseball bat right here.
I love that Cal was texting during this.
I know.
He didn't even have to laugh.
I know, it's a tight move.
Got this baseball.
Brendan quickly catches on to Donald's tactic and calls him out on it, effectively telling Donald, there is nothing wrong with Callen doing this. We are answering your request. However, Donald is able to quickly parry Brendan's attack by saying, you told me not to laugh, which allows Donald to maintain decency in the situation, but still deny Brendan from feeling like him and Bryan correctly answered his original request, which was for Brendan to tell the joke, not Bryan. Brendan's attack does not work on Donald, and all Brendan can do is back off and tell Donald that that was a good move.
Well, let me show you guys how this works. Gang, gang, starts hitting it. Solid pine, pass it around. You can tell it's a solid pine baseball bat. This gentleman right here, kind of a huge guy, comes up. He goes, what's your name, sir? He goes, Bert.
Bryan's intent with this joke was to tell a long and boring joke. This is the type of joke you tell when you've been disrespected by your audience. A joke that puts the power back in your hands. This is because when you tell a joke, you demand the audience's attention. But when you tell a bad joke, you make the audience feel like their time was not well spent. So when someone demands a comedian to tell a joke, the comedian maintains power by telling a bad joke. Indirectly telling the demander that, okay, I didn't want to tell a joke, you pushed me, so I'll tell you a bad joke, and as a result, I'll waste your time and make you wish you hadn't asked me in the first place. This strategy is super effective for comedians. However, it is contingent on the audience actually paying attention. If the audience chooses not to pay attention, then it becomes the comedian who is wasting his time. And the power then lies back with the audience, who in this case is Donald.
And he goes, what do you do? He goes, pig farmer. He goes, how much you weigh? He goes, 300 pounds. He goes, wow, big man. He goes, he's strong. He goes, strongest guy in my county. All right, so we prove that he's the strongest guy.
Brendan starts to realize this. He starts to realize that Bryan's strategy is not working, and that the power lies back with Donald. We see Brendan begin to rub his eye. Rubbing the eye, when it is not done to alleviate an itch, is a widespread gesture indicative of a negative thought, doubt, or disbelief at what is being said or seen. Brendan is realizing that every strategy they have used up until this point has not worked. And even Bryan's saving grace strategy is not working. As we will soon see, Brendan's discontent and negative emotion starts to shift towards Bryan. Bryan was supposed to be his partner who was helping him in this situation. But Brendan is convinced that Bryan is not realizing that his strategy is not working. Maybe Bryan has a different intention than going to bat for Brendan.
Here you go. Here's this baseball bat. I want you to take this baseball bat, and I want you to hit me in the head as hard as you can with this baseball bat.
It's a long joke, sir.
Bert's like, hey, shut the up, bro.
Brendan checks Bryan, trying to tell him, hey man, this is not working. But funnily, Bryan continues, almost as if he is onto something that Brendan is not aware of. Bryan is set on telling this joke, but now it's for a different reason than appeasing Donald. Could it be that Bryan's intentions are different from what Brendan thought they were? Donald recognizes Bryan's confidence and feels that Bryan is so committed that he deserves at least some attention now.
Hey, shut up, bro. And Bert's like, yeah, but if I hit you in the head, I'll smash your head.
Donald puts his phone down and some of Brendan's negative emotion goes away. This is an appeasing gesture, and as we will see more appeasing gestures from Brendan, we will begin to notice that Brendan begins to take Donald's side.
Kill you. And he goes, listen to me, I'm a magician. Just take the bat, hit me in the head as hard as you can. He goes, I know, but if I hit you, this is a real bat. I'm going to literally take your head off. He goes, for the last time, I want you to take the bat, hit me.
Donald loses focus and goes back to his phone and for his coffee, and the negative emotion comes back for Brendan again.
Out of the head as hard as you can. So Bert goes, all right, you asked for it in front of all the crowd. He just takes it and hits him as hard as he can across the head. Blood goes everywhere.
Donald returns to focus and the negative emotion goes away again for Brendan. Brendan is taking the side of Donald against Bryan.
Fucking gets knocked out. They got to rush him to the hospital, swelling on the brain. Fucking, he's in a coma for 4 months. They got to drain fluid. He's almost dead. He finally, 4 months later, he comes out of it. And as he comes out of it,
Donald turns his head to look at something and Brendan turns his head to follow. Brendan is not paying attention to Bryan. He's paying attention to how Donald is reacting to Bryan. Bryan has successfully subconsciously persuaded Brendan to take Donald's side.
But he goes, ta-da!
Don't ever tell that one.
How did you guys not laugh at that?
Don't ever.
This guy, I was looking at.
That's because I dared you
I
not
feel like
to.
he's gonna murder you.
Callen,
after
You're
that.
laughing on the
That made him
inside.
laugh.
They would boo you out of the comedy store for that one.
All right, one more joke.
No,
It's very
Boo
quick.
you
Please don't.
out.
Brendan is now anticipating Donald's mental state, and instead of agreeing for Bryan to tell another joke, which was not working, he says, no, essentially speaking on behalf of Donald. Bryan's insistence on telling another joke tells us everything we need to know here. Bryan is a smart man and obviously knows that Donald didn't buy into the first joke. However, Bryan's persistence on telling another joke shows that Bryan's original intention was not to defend Schaub by fighting for him against Donald, but to defend Schaub by throwing himself under the bus, sacrificing himself, and bringing Donald and Brendan together by allowing them to both come against him in unison.
On our podcast.
Quick, hold on.
Yeah,
This
please.
is a really good one. I dare you not to laugh on this one. Ready? What did the snail say when it was riding on the turtle's back? Whee! See? Got him. Ah.
Bryan doubles down with an even stupider joke and finally makes Donald laugh, relieving all of the tension in the room.
Got me.
Okay, because get it, the snail isn't used to going that fast.
Sure.
Off, man. You guys, you
You
know,
know what,
I
man?
didn't know I was
You
gonna
don't know
move fun.
comedy. Dude, you don't know comedy.
How's it going for you, though? It's good? You enjoying it?
Yeah, it's great, man. Yeah, killing it.
good.
Yeah, it's going well.
Brendan plays into Donald's side again when he tells Bryan, you don't know comedy. As we will see now that Bryan relieved the tension, Donald and Brendan are able to resume a regular conversation that is no longer a battle. Bryan Callen knew that the tension him and Donald had was not as serious as the tension that Donald had with Brendan. So what Bryan did, looking out for Brendan, was sacrifice himself in the moment and made himself the subject of ridicule. He facilitated the relief of tension between Brendan and Donald by letting them come together against him as a team. Of what was at first a tense back and forth of Bryan and Brendan versus Donald, soon became Donald and Brendan versus Bryan. A swift understanding and maneuver of a tense situation, all orchestrated by the hands of Bryan Callen. Remember to like this video and subscribe for more videos like this. Thank you so much for the support. My name's Glidget Ronan. Thank you for watching.